Hey, what's up everybody? ESAM here bringing you another video. This one going to be part 4 of my end of 2017 tier list. This video going to be the high tiers. As always, if you want to see the previous tiers, you can go check out my last videos because I'm not putting it on the list because in high tier, this is where I'm really going to start having like a lot of different sections of everything because I do not feel like all these characters are necessarily tied. They're all very good, but this is when it's a lot easier to make distinctions because this is when the characters really start to matter. So in high tier, if they're in the same tier still at this point, they are tied, but there are only like 2 characters per tier. So anyway, let us get started. First off are going to be the grapplers. So I'm just going to group them because they are functionally going to be the same. Obviously they do have differences. You have Bowser, who's a little bit better at landing because he has more threatening options such as down air, which is a stall and fall, down B, which is a shield break, and side B as a command grab. But both characters will get juggled, will get edge trapped to hell. Both characters have pretty decent neutral, although DK's neutral is better because jab brings people in, as well as down tilt having an invulnerable hand and also up tilt being a pretty good anti-air. But Bowser does have a few invulnerable options as well in forward tilt, in up smash. Both characters have obviously very potent grab combos. DK's is a little bit smaller, but it's also more deadly. It kills earlier, whereas Bowser's is a bit easier. The percent window is more lenient, but it's also at a later percent. So even with rage, you're going to be killing lightweights at like 50 as opposed to DK, who's killing them at like 42 or 43, which again, that's still a neutral win that you have to do as DK. Both characters struggle to get off the ledge. Both characters actually have different matchup strengths. I feel like Bowser does better versus Cloud, but DK does better versus, let's say, Mario. So it's kind of interesting like how they do different type of things in the top tier. I mean, I think they still lose the majority of their top tier matchups and even some of the other high tier matchups, but obviously DK and Bowser are a character that are still good, but they get a huge buff in tournament because of that fear factor of like, oh god, what if I get grabbed? Oh god, what if he hits me? Oh god, I'm so scared of this character. And that's when the character really shines, because in friendlies, you don't really have to play as scared or as patient or as just fearful, because if you get grabbed and you lose a game, you're like, oh, okay, so then you'll more than likely not get grabbed, which is kind of weird to say, but that's kind of how it works. And so they do get a buff in tournament. They're the best counterpick characters in the entire game, in my opinion, because you get the Town and City or FD into them, and it's very difficult for people to get around that counterpick. So they are an amazing thing to have in your toolbox as a standalone character. They do have a lot of flaws. They still do lose several matchups, but it's one of those, lol, it doesn't matter that I lose this matchup because I can just win the game anyway. And so that is why I'm going to put them at the bottom of high tier. Still a little bit worse than some of the other characters, but obviously very threatening. Next up is a character that a lot of people have been talking about very recently due to its performance at 2GG Championship Saga, and that is going to be Meta Knight. Obviously what I'm talking about is Leo beating Zero twice with Meta Knight. Absolutely ridiculous play by him. So Meta Knight is one of the most linear characters in the entire game. He wants to dash attack you, he wants to dash grab you, he will get a kill off of it. That is his entire game plan, and you are always fearful of him. There is counterplay to it, which is staying near the ledge and generally playing defensive and also SDIing out, like literally like away when you're comboing. That's generally going to be the correct thing to do. However, this character still has a bunch of strengths. Obviously killing you with rage at like 10 or without rage at like 30 to 40 is still an incredibly threatening thing. You know, he does have several mix-ups. He is decent at edge trapping. He has forward smash to 2-frame. He has decent edge guarding because he can go out there lingering nair. Back air is incredibly powerful. He has strings that can lead you off stage, which then he can edge guard you afterwards, so it's very problematic to get back to the stage sometimes. However, the reason he's not higher is, again, I think he is slightly too linear. His pressure is very much like, okay, maybe down tilt, but mostly going to be timing reads or baits in order to get people to commit, and so he can dash grab or dash attack and get his big damage. It's a general 50-50, obviously, although you can jump away from him, but then obviously if you're in the air, he can just kind of anti-air with up air or catch your landings with said dash attack or dash grab, and that so generally you are going to want to stay grounded versus him. I did have a video about how to beat Meta Knight or how to deal with Meta Knight. So I would recommend checking that out if you are having trouble with this character. But even if you know, you play the theory, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work 100% of the time, because otherwise he'd be a bad character, because he still is scary. You get that one mistake or that one open up or that one hard read as the Meta Knight player, and you can take a stock. And it is absolutely frightening to play against this character, because it doesn't matter how many times you beat them in neutral, but if you don't kill them, they might just open you up that one time, and that will be the stock. And honestly, kind of similar to that is going to be Captain Falcon. While Falcon does have his general game plan of wanting to get a dash grab or a falling up air and then lead to juggles and or big damage combos and 50-50 setups to either kill, spike, or just do massive damage, Falcon is a character that, unlike Meta Knight, definitely struggles in disadvantage. He is probably the single most comboable character in the entire game because he's heavy and a fast faller and kind of big, so pretty much every single thing works on him that you want to work on him. He's relatively easy to edge guard and two frame because his up B, juts his hand above it so you can actually hit him even without the two frame. Before the two frame, he doesn't get his double jump back, and that's something that's a really big deal because, again, you can keep Falcon in disadvantage, hit him off stage, and then potentially get an edge guard as several characters. It's not even particularly difficult. However, if he does get down, he is blindingly fast, and so a lot of things, like his mid-range, quote-unquote, is really, really big because the threat of dash grab, since he has one of the best dash grabs in the game, is so huge that you always have to be on your toes. His landing back air and landing up air are safe, into jab, and his jab is one of the best jabs in the game for sure. It's like, it makes up air safe, and then, if you're respecting up air jab and you start like holding shield, and they can go up air grab, get big combos. He does obviously have the footstool combos, which have been a little bit more optimized this year. You get like a landing up air into footstool, into down air, into footstool, down air, and then over and over until knee will kill. So that's a pretty big deal because now he can be kind of hitting you and killing you, which is not okay. To be fair, you will definitely be hitting Falcon and killing him as well, but either way, this character does well on pretty much every stage. Platforms help him elongate his combos, but he can also get the long footstool strings when it's FD or Smashville, so he can pretty much be useful anywhere. He does have some rough matchups in top tier. I do think he loses fairly hard to both Pikachu and Sheik, also Rosa, and he does have some difficulties in the lower tiers because, again, if you can just abuse his offstage game, it can be very difficult for him. But at the same time, similar to Meta Knight, he's a very explosive character, and so any lead is not really safe because he can do those big damage combos. You can get that 50-50 air dodge read into spike or into knee, and you can get your stocks blown up. You've obviously seen Fatality do amazing with this character this year, although he has kind of slowed down in the second half of 2017, but either way, he is still a really frightening character to play against. I'm really happy that I play a character that does really well versus him because I don't necessarily have to worry about him in tournament, but there are some Falcons that are doing really well, both in Japan. You have Fatality and Kashmir in the US, and he is just a generally scary character that really no one wants to play against. Like, even if you have a good matchup, it's still not exactly fun because he's just trying to brute force his way into you, and that's kind of how a lot of people feel about Meta Knight. Next up is a character we have had a surge of showings in the second half of 2017 specifically because there has been one rising star type of player that has been using him or her, because it's either way, and that is going to be Corrin. So obviously the person I'm talking about is Cosmos. Cosmos has had significantly heightened results in the second half of 2017 due to his extreme practice, but this character is just really, really strong. The character is kind of slow. They nerfed his run speed pre-patch when they kind of nerfed Bayonetta the first time because otherwise he would have Dragon Fang shot infinites, and that is going to be the worst thing about him for sure because his juggle game is insane. He can get really lengthy combos if he hits the right move. Honestly, the thing that keeps this character, in my opinion, from being top tier other than his speed is the fact that I feel like his edge trapping is kind of mediocre. He has no long-lasting, just kind of there hitboxes for a very long time. Like, obviously you have neutral air, which lasts a very long time, but it's kind of moving, and so if you're trying to cover multiple options on the ledge, it is very difficult for Corrin to do so, and I feel like that's going to be a big deal because a lot of characters, especially above this, have a much easier time ledge trapping characters or get more off of the hit, whereas Corrin is more so okay, I'll hit you for 25 and then play neutral again. And granted, Corrin's neutral is absurd because he has one of the best offensive tools in the entire game in terms of side B or pin, so it is very, very good for Corrin to be back in neutral. It's not a bad thing at all. He wins neutral versus the majority of characters. However, it is still a guess, and he can unfortunately guess wrong a bunch of different times. Corrin does very, very well because of the fact that she has such a good neutral. He does incredibly well versus characters like Rosa, versus characters like Mario, even characters like Sonic and Cloud, because he can like just win the neutral and then keep him at disadvantage for a while because you have Nair and up air. And the best thing to do against Corrin, honestly, is just go to the ledge, because ledge trapping is one of the weakest things that Corrin has, in my opinion. It's still good. Like, obviously it's not like a bad ledge trapping, it's just bad compared to the other characters that are near Corrin in the tier list, because like there's not that many above. Like, Corrin is probably, I think, if I'm counting correct, like the 15th or 16th best character, because he's going to be tied with one more. So definitely, obviously, a very, very strong character, but I feel like the ledge trapping being a little stronger would really push this character over the edge, or obviously the little bit of speed coming back, because then you would have ridiculous kill confirms in terms of like weak Dragon Fang shot into forward smash, which totally isn't okay, and I'm very, very glad they nerfed that character. But still, strong juggling, strong kill potential, really good neutral, just everything about this character is very solid or like broken, so there's not really that many flaws. This character can get at a disadvantage relatively relatively well because you have things like counter, which you have to respect. You have backer, which can kind of jut you in the air a little bit, make it difficult to land. And obviously you have nair, which if you're retreating is relatively safe, assuming the person didn't super overcommit where you're going to be and then like power shield grab you. So again, Corrin can get at disadvantage, really strong neutral, pretty good advantage. Just nothing exactly quote unquote cheap other than like pin tipper 2 frames, which is kind of really not okay. And just like getting those in general, it's so strong. It is such a strong option for Corrin. But either way, definitely going to be an amazing character, but not quite in the top tier. Next up is a character that we had a lot of buzz about, a DLC master, a Shoto, and that is going to be Ryu. So Ryu, obviously one of the best offenses in the entire game. If he hits you, his combos are ridiculous. He can string you across the stage and spike you or kill you at 55 to 70% if he has rage. Has a 1-frame get out of jail free option in terms of both focus and motion Shoryu. This character has so much, but what he doesn't have is a good anti-projectile game because he is a character that is going to have to be approaching the entire time. But unlike a character that is in the tier above him, which I will get to, he has no real good projectile in order to get him in, because red fireball you can just kind of either ping with it or just shield it, and it's really easy and it's very laggy, so it's not like he gains that much space in general from using it. It is very difficult for this character to get in, but once he does get in, he does so much damage. If you're playing near the ledge, he can end up getting like nair up tilt or nair like down tilt your SDI up into like up tilt spike you. Like, he has so many things. SDI does make this character a little bit more difficult to combo with. You do have to react a lot faster. You know, a lot of people used to be getting multiple up tilts into a Shoryu or like multiple nairs that are just stringing across the stage, but if you have a decent SDI or good SDI, actually it's pretty difficult. You can get out of a lot of those strings, so they're having to do things a lot quicker and a lot just like, okay, one and done type of thing. Like, you know, an up tilt has to be like one up tilt in the Shoryu to get the kill, and you've seen a lot of Ryus that cannot do that at whatever moment they're playing, you know, struggle, and they'll lose because of it, because they're not confirming quite fast enough with his moves. But either way, crazy offense, pretty decent disadvantage unless you're a character that has a bunch of disjointed multi-hits or just multi-hits that are really like safe in general, because that can break through focus. It's really risky to DP out of random things, although obviously if you do things like neutral get up or like just random tech roll, you can throw out that DP, make people respect it, because then if people aren't hitting you as hard as they want to when they're attacking you, then it'll allow you more opportunities in neutral to get in and find that spot to get your damage and kills. So this character, very, very strong. I do not think he's top 10 though. Has a lot of, like that's just, in my opinion, too glaring of a flaw, but his strengths obviously keep him in high tier, like for sure. And for the final tier of high tier, I'm going to be putting a character that I've always had an extremely high opinion of, and that is going to be Princess Peach. So obviously, she is the one character that quote unquote potential has really mattered, because people have pushed this character so far with footstool combos, with turnip combos. You see Razzo do ridiculous strings, you have the speed of Mutace, you have the mind of Samsora and Ki. This character has so much potential. The fundamental mechanic of float is broken because it really changes the way both advantage and disadvantage and neutral are completely played more than any other character. Float is absolutely amazing. She has inherent mix-ups on your shield with down air nair or down air or down air retreat. This character is just so good. It has incredibly strong kill potential, kill setups, kill combos, a kill throw, and like she is a very scary character. The one flaw of her obviously is the fact that she is, in my opinion, the most difficult character in the game to play. So if you mess up even a little bit or you're not 100% on your game, you will be suffering because she's so difficult to control. She's so difficult to get all these things with. They're so tight and frame perfect. But honestly, this character has so much low percent combos, really good disadvantage just because float is such a scary mechanic to have to deal with. Although if you do hit her out of a float, it gets a little bit easier. She has a good recovery that you can't really mess with because both side B is hard to mess with and Parasol is one of the most difficult things to mess with unless you have a counter or like a witch time or something like that. So she's gonna get back to the ledge for free. She has really interesting ledge options because she has the option to float, although she does have to land in order to get float back. It is not refreshed when she grabs the ledge, which is really important. But either way, the fact that she can like ledge jump, float, land, grab, she can grab you faster than any other character. So shielding at the ledge isn't going to necessarily be good. You have to get those hard reads on her ledge options, and then obviously if you guess wrong, she gets back to neutral, and her neutral is so scary because she is so good at playing both offensive and defensive. As I mentioned last video with Toon Link and Olimar, she can constantly switch between offense and defense, and it makes it so difficult to pin her down, and also it gives the player playing her so many opportunities to adapt to you. So again, one of the scariest characters in the game. They have constantly patched out infinites for her and patched out things, and the Peaches always find more, and they are getting so good at it, and it is just a matter of time until Peach breaks into the top tier and the top 10 in my opinion. And the last character that also is very close to getting in the top tier and has the highest skill floor in the entire game to play, it is going to be Luigi. So Luigi, Obviously, Elegant has been doing significantly better, proving that the flaws of this character are maybe a bit overblown. As I mentioned when I was talking about Ryu, Luigi does have to struggle to get in. He has low traction, and so big spacing arrows, like let's say a Cloud back air or Rosa back air or like Mewtwo back air, Mewtwo down tilt, will give him a lot of trouble. But unlike Ryu, he has an incredible tool in the mid-range, which is going to be Fireball, because while it is minus on hit, it can lead to so many mix-up situations. If you shield it, if you just like, you have to land on it, it is so difficult. It makes him get off the ledge easier. This character just has it all. And when I'm talking about the skill floor is if you cannot mash, not necessarily as well as, let's say, Con and Elegant, but just as well enough to like be able to get Tornado against them, to be able to reliably recover consistently, this character drops at least 15 spots, because now he is one of the easiest characters to edgeguard in the entire game. But with Cyclone, it is so scary to go off stage, even as Pikachu, right? Like as me, I am scared to go off stage and edgeguard Luigi a lot of the time. I know I have to, but I've messed up. If you mess up once and you die because he grabs the ledge from you or like hits you with coin, and then will just drop down and Cyclone you and kill you. It kills everyone, even with really good recoveries, the only exception being on Battlefield and Dreamland because the bottom blast zone is lower. But man, this character is so unrelenting. He has a crazy combo game, he has crazy kill potential, he has reads, he has a kill throw, he has a decent recovery that like you can mess with, but it's so risky. Like it's riskier than, or it's as risky as like edgeguarding Ness, which is really not okay, especially considering he has such a potent offensive game. You've seen Elegant do crazy results with him, like crazy amazing, and this character honestly, as the combos get optimized and the neutral and the power shield timings of just everyone's gets better, Luigi has just ascended the tier list, and in my opinion is just below top tier. And yeah, that is going to be about it for this one. I hope you all enjoyed. The next video is going to be 12 characters that would be, you know, the quote-unquote top 10, because there's always going to be more than 10 characters in the top 10 just because it's Smash 4. So this is going to be high tier. The last video is going to be top tier. And yeah, social media, Panda, and partner stuff is down below, and I will see you all next time. Bye.